مرحبا يا رمضان مرحبا يا رمضان رمضان مرحبا يا رمضان
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. You're tuned into ReviveFM 94.0. This is your host, it's Brother Rafiq, and you are tuned into the Iftar show. Those of you who have been tuned into ReviveFM regularly will be aware of my weekly show, Minhaj al-Salihin. That's a show in which I go through the lives of different great personalities of Islam from the past. This show has a similar theme, purifying the self through the lives of the Salaf. And I would like to discuss from amongst the Salaf, that's the early three generations of Muslims, I would like to discuss Al-Imam Al-Awza'i. Imam Al-Awza'i, his entire name is Abdul Rahman ibn Amr ibn Yuhmad Abu Amr Al-Awza'i. He was born in the year 88 after the Hijri and passed away in the year 158. That corresponds to 707 to 774 AD. He was the Shaykh al-Islam, the wise scholar of the people of Sham, which is present-day Syria, Palestine, parts of Jordan, Lebanon. And he was one of the mujtahid imams of the Salaf, meaning he was of the highest rank of scholarship. Along with the four imams, along with Sufyan al-Thawri, Imam al-Tabari, and Dawood al-Zahiri, and others. And he, together with Ibn Jurayj and Imam al-A'zam Abu Hanifa, he was amongst the first to compile the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions under fiqh subheadings, meaning under jurisprudential subheadings. And he is from amongst the Taba' al-Tabi'in. Taba' al-Tabi'in is that generation who saw the Tabi'un. The Tabi'un are the successors of the Sahaba, the companions of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imam Al-Awza'i, he was born an orphan. He was from a family of poor Arab immigrants in the Ba'labak valley or the region of Lebanon. It's still there today. He was raised in the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon and came to live in an area known as Al-Awza'. This was populated by the Al-Awza' tribe. He then spent time in Damascus. The Roman Empire used to be the global center of knowledge and intellectual advancement, but by this time it was replaced by Damascus and Baghdad, which more or less eclipsed the entire planet in advancement, in science, in technology, in medicine, and in development. These cities, together with many other parts of the new Muslim world, became the seats of learning for the whole planet, for the entire earth. And for further education, after Damascus, Imam Al-Awza'i, he traveled to Basra, he traveled to Kufa, and eventually moved to Beirut, where he remained until his death. During his travels, and in pursuit of knowledge, he learnt from a host of tabi'un, who were not just the teachers, but included the grand teachers and great grand teachers of Bukhari and Muslim, meaning the teachers of the teachers and the teachers of the teachers of the teachers of Imams Bukhari and Muslim. And among them were the likes of Ata ibn Abi Rabah, Imam Abu Ja'far Muhammad al-Baqir, Yahya ibn Abi Kathir, who was his first sheikh, Ikrama, Alqama, Ibn al-Munkadir, Muhammad ibn Sirin. Muhammad ibn Sirin, he is the dream interpreter. That was amongst his teachers. His students included great authorities such as Imam al-Zuhri, Sufyan al-Thawri, Imam Malik, the author of the Muwatta, and many others. He is considered a proof in himself, a hujjah. As a narrator, he was known for his deep understanding of the law, great research and piety. In terms of his scholarship, Al-Hiql, he said that Imam al-Awza'i gave replies covering about 70,000 issues. He gave answers to that. Imam Malik even considered him to be fit to be the Imam, meaning not Imam as in a scholarly Imam, but Imam as in Khalif, the leader of the Muslims, Amirul Mu'mineen. And it's narrated that Ismail ibn Ayyash, he said that I heard people say that in the year 140, that in our day, the wise scholar of the Ummah is Al-Awza'i. And when he came to Mecca, the likes of Sufyan al-Thawri was walking ahead of him, shouting, make way for the Shaykh, make way for the Shaykh. And Imam Malik, when he saw both of them, he said one of them, Sufyan al-Thawri, is more knowledgeable than the other, but is not ready to be the Imam. Whilst the other, Imam al-Awza'i, he is ready to be Imam, he is ready to lead the Muslim Ummah. So this was also the opinion of Al-Fazari and Ali ibn Bakkar and also Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahumullah ta'ala. So within a short span of time, his fame spread to the entire Islamic world of that time. Now he wasn't just a scholarly personality, he stood up for the truth as well. Abu Ubaid ibn Salam, he narrates in his Kitab al-Amwal that at that time, during the time of Imam al-Awza'i, there was a conflict in Lebanon between a small group of non-Muslims who had risen up against the ruler. When Abdullah ibn Ali, who was the regional governor at that time, he put down the rebellion, but then he wanted to force the entire non-Muslim community to be expelled and moved somewhere else. Imam al-Awza'i, in his capacity as the leading jurist, he immediately objected. And his argument was that the incident was not the result of the community's unanimous agreement. As far as I know, Imam al-Awza'i would say, it is not the rule of God that God should punish many for the fault of a few, but he would punish a few for the fault of many. And he spoke out. And he spoke out knowing that this ruler, this governor, was a harsh person, but that didn't stop him. In terms of his piety, Al-Walid ibn Mazyad, he said, no one surpassed him in intensity of worship. No one surpassed Imam al-Awza'i. He had never seen anyone worshipping more intensely than Imam al-Awza'i. Imam al-Awza'i, he did not rise from his place of morning prayer until sunrise, meaning he probably started worshipping from tahajjud and he didn't come off that prayer mat until after the sun had risen. And the sun did not pass the zenith, meaning the highest point, meaning dhuhr, just before dhuhr time, except that he was still seen standing in prayer. And so Al-Walid ibn Mazyad, he said, no one surpassed him in intensity of worship. Amongst his sayings that are transmitted, Marwan al-Tatari, he said that Al-Awza'i said, whoever stands in prayer at night at length, Allah shall make the station of the day of resurrection easy for him. Allah will make it easy for him on the day of resurrection if he is standing for long periods overnight. Al-Walid ibn Muslim and Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, they relate that Al-Awza'i said, this science, this ilm, which he had acquired from different avenues, from different scholars, from different authorities, he said, this science was noble. Men would transmit it from one another. Men would transmit it to each other. But when it spread to books, those other than its rightful custodians became involved with it. Now, this doesn't mean that knowledge which is on books is wrong, as it happens as it has happened throughout Islamic history. But what he's referring to is that books are passed on for circulation, like in modern times, not to those who are doing it to preserve and to protect the narration or to act upon the narration. Like we have these days, this mobile phone. You can have the whole of Sahih al-Bukhari on here. You can have 80 volumes of Tarikh Dimashq al-Kabir of Ibn Asakir on here. Can you believe that? This is Imam Ibn Asakir's Tarikh Dimashq. And in the past, you'd have to travel thousands of miles to collect it. So this is what Imam al-Awza'i is referring to. And as for preserving knowledge in writing, that was established by the early hadith masters, and they didn't narrate anything other than that which was recorded. Imam al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, he wrote a work titled Taqyid al-Ilm, the preserving of knowledge. And that name, Taqyid al-Ilm, is taken from a saying of Sayyidina Anas radiallahu anhu, in which he said, Qayyid al-ilma bil-kitaba, that preserve knowledge with writing. Anas radiallahu anhu, he would actually say that we would not consider as knowledge the knowledge of those who did not write down what they were saying, what they were transmitting, or what they were claiming was knowledge. And also Al-Hakim at-Tirmidhi, he compiled a chapter in his Nawadir al-Usul titled Writing is the means to preserve knowledge and to preserve it from oblivion. So writing and preserving it and documenting it is obligatory, but those who take that knowledge, do they have the right and do they have the ability, do they have the qualities to inherit it? Imam al-Awza'i, he also said, the book, meaning the Quran, stands in greater need to the Sunnah than the Sunnah to the book. And that is because Imam Ibn Abdul Barr, who narrates this, he comments on it. He says, that is because the Sunnah expounds the meanings of the book. The Sunnah explains the Quran, not vice versa. Al-Walid ibn Mazyad, he said that Al-Awza'i, he was asked about humility, about khushu' in prayer. And Imam Al-Awza'i, he replied, downcast gaze, lowering the wing of submission, and softness of heart, which is sorrow and dread. This is how he described khushu'. And then he said, Al-Walid ibn Mazyad, he said, I saw Al-Awza'i, and he was literally like a blind man due to his humility. He was so humble and he was so downcast and so focused, so soft and so gentle, so focused in his creator. It was as though he's blind to everything else. He was like a blind man, in the words of Al-Walid. But that doesn't mean that we should be naive. We should just completely ignore the wrongs of our society. Al-Walid, he heard Al-Awza'i, he heard Al-Awza'i defining the naive, the ablah. He said the naive is the one who is in blind ignorance of evil, but acutely discerning of goodness. So he might see goodness, and we should always look for goodness. We should always see good. But where there is evil, we cannot turn a blind eye. Where there is injustice, there has to be a voice. There has to be a voice that is raised. And that is what Al-Awza'i is alluding to. You can't be or claim to be an inheritor of spiritualism if you're naive to the evil that goes on in society. Al-Abbas ibn al-Walid, he said, I never saw my father admire anything in the world as much as he admired Al-Awza'i. He used to exclaim about him. He says, glory to you. You do what you wish. O my sons, kings are powerless to discipline themselves and their own children the way that Al-Awza'i has disciplined himself. I never in my life heard him say an excellent word, except that the listener would bound to observe that very excellent word in him. If he said something good about someone, or if he encouraged something, if he said an act of encouragement, you'd find that those very traits and characteristics were themselves found in Imam Al-Awza'i in himself. Al-Abbas ibn al-Walid, he says, nor did I ever see him laugh without restraint. Whenever he addressed the subjects of our return to our Maker, to our Master, I would say to myself, I wonder, is there one heart in this gathering that is not weeping? Imam Al-Awza'i, he said, whoever remembers death much, a little suffices for his livelihood. So if you remember death much, you're content with whatever little you have. And whoever realizes that his utterances are counted as deeds, good deeds and bad deeds, his speech becomes spare, his speech becomes rare. Yazid ibn Mad'ur, he said that I saw Imam Al-Awza'i in my sleep, and I asked him, show me a level by which to draw near to Allah. He replied, I did not see a level higher than that of the wise scholars of knowledge. Not just people of knowledge, but wise scholars of knowledge. And then the level after that were of the grief-stricken, al-mahzuneen. Abdullah ibn Ahmad, he narrated from Hassan ibn Abdul Aziz, from Amr ibn Abi Salama at-Tinnisi, that Al-Awza'i, he said about himself, he said, I saw myself as if carried up by two angels who camped me in front of the Lord of power and might. My Lord said to me, are you my servant Abdul Rahman who commands good deeds? I replied, by your power and might, you know best, O my Lord. O my Lord, let me die on Islam. Then they descended again and brought me back to where I first was. Imam al-Awza'i was a man of miracles and spiritual visions. Imam Tabari relates that 12 years after his death, in the year 786 AD, in one night, 3 events happened. In one night. Number 1, the Khalif Musa al-Hadi died. Number 2, the famous Khalif Harun al-Rashid succeeded him. And number 3, Khalif al-Ma'mun was born. And the Khalif al-Hadi's mother, al-Khayzuran, she reported that al-Awza'i had foretold the details of this succession to her whilst he was still alive. He had foretold this event. Imam al-Awza'i's son recorded that his father had a dream in which he saw paradise. This is mentioned by Ibn Abi Hatim. And he said, my father said to me, I want to tell you some news that will please you. I will not do so until you swear to me that you will not repeat it so long as I am alive. His son said, I promise that, O father, do tell me. And he said, in a dream, I saw that I was in a place at one of the gates of paradise. Suddenly, one of the leaves of the door disappeared from its place. There was the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and with him were Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhuma. They hastened to put the leaf back. They closed it and left. Then it disappeared again, and they returned, and it was secured in its place. Then it disappeared another time, and the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said to me, O Abdul Rahman, will you not grasp the door with us? I did, and it was secured. This dream alludes to his maqam and his contribution to the preservation and protection of the deen. Imam al-Dhahabi, he states that in addition to his brilliance in the science and his foremost rank in works, he was also the master in the art of writing letters. 4 communities, according to al-Dhahabi, 4 communities attended his funeral in Beirut. The Muslim community carried his funeral, followed by the Jewish community, followed by the Christian community, followed by the Coptic Christian community. 4 communities attended his janazah. Yazid ibn Mad'ur, he said, I saw al-Awza'i in my sleep and I asked, show me a level by which to draw near to Allah. He replied, I did not see a level higher than that of the wise scholars of the Ummah. Now, non-Muslims attending the funerals of other Muslim scholars and saints, that might sound surprising to us, but there are other examples. Imam Abu Nu'aym in Hilyatul Awliya and Ibn Abi Ya'la in Tabaqatul Hanabila, they narrate that it is said about Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal's own funeral. He had a huge funeral and large numbers of Jews, Christians and Zoroastrians, 10,000 according to one report, 20,000 according to another. They converted to Islam on the day of his death, on the day of the death of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala. In reports similar to that of al-Awza'i's funeral, the mourning for him is said further not to have been confined to Muslims, but had extended to the Jews of that time, to the Christians and to the Majus, the Zoroastrians, who together with the Muslims had constituted to the 4 categories of the people. Hisham Khalifa, he is the current Imam of the Al-Imam Al-Awza'i Mosque in Lebanon today. He says that till today, his grave is still visited by both Muslims, Christians, monks and church dignitaries, and by members of the Druze religion, D-R-U-Z-E, religion. And they visit not just for the sake of sentimental feelings, but they visit in order to receive cure and in order to receive blessings from the grave of Imam al-Awza'i, rahimahullah ta'ala wa radiya anhu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon us. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana. Rabbana afrigh alayna sabran wa thabbit aqdamana. Ya muqallibal qulub thabbit qalbi ala dinik. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. اللهم اجعل لي نورا في قلبي ونورا في قبري ونورا بين يدي ونورا من خلفي ونورا عن يميني ونورا عن شمالي ونورا من فوقي ونورا من تحتي ونورا في سمعي ونورا في بصري ونورا في شعري ونورا في بشري ونورا في لحمي ونورا في دمعي ونورا في دمي ونورا في عظامي. Allahumma a'adhimi li nuran. Oh Allah, enlarge and enhance the nur, the light for me. Wa a'atini nuran, and bestow your light upon me. Waj'al li nuran, and make me myself full of nur, full of light. Sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqihi sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin bi haqqi la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That is it from myself, Brother Rafiq, and the Iftar show. Look after yourself, and we'll speak to you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
This Iftari is sponsored by the Wahbe restaurant in Gants Hill, Ilford, and Plashett Carpets in Upton Park.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إني لك صمت وبك آمنت وعليك توكلت وعلى رزقك أفطرت. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله في الأولين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا ومولانا محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
This Iftari is sponsored by the Wahbe restaurant in Gants Hill, Ilford and